Hey guys, what's up? It's Jay over at Guerrilla Games, and I'm here to bring you a brand new segment that we're going to be doing from time to time, which we are calling the Standard Budget Spotlight. Basically, every so often we're going to be presenting you guys with a $20 deck that you can come into the store and buy. And then we're also going to be showing you basically some other, this is the first part of the video. The second part is us basically going to be like playing with the deck, showing you how it works, maybe changing it up a little bit if we find out that it's not really working to our liking. So for our very first one, I decided that two of my absolute favorite cards that are in Standard right now that I don't really see a whole lot of people playing with are Fevered Visions and Brutal Expulsion. So the deck that I'm going to show you guys is kind of a little bit like the Blue-Red Flyers list that's been going around a little bit, but it's got a little bit more of a tempo feel to it. It involves a lot more bouncing, either spells or creatures, permanents back to your opponent's hand, and really trying to like grind them out with Fevered Visions. So, first thing that we're going to get in our deck is 4 copies of Fevered Visions. So like I said, this is kind of the linchpin of the deck. This is going to be how you're going to be putting a lot of pressure on your opponent. This is going to be how you're going to be winning a lot of your games. Fevered Visions is really good against any of the slower decks in the format, any of the control decks, things like that, because you're basically going to clog up their hand, and there's just not going to be a lot of interaction that they're going to have with you. So the second card that I decided to add was 4 copies of Brutal Expulsion. So Brutal Expulsion is kind of it's pulling double duty in our deck. It's helping us bounce something back to their hand. It's also going to give us a little bit of removal since it deals the 2 damage to a creature or a planeswalker. So if they've got, so it gives you, it's sort of like a pseudo sweeper in this deck. Next up, we get into a little bit more of the tempo aspect. So I added 3 copies of Harbinger of the Tides. Harbinger of the Tides lets you bounce a tapped creature your opponent controls of their hand. So that's going to help you, A, get a little bit of pressure on the board because it's going to give you a 2-power creature, but then also it's going to, bounce things back to their hand. I also went ahead and added Disperse, 4 Disperses to be exact. So that's going to help you out against like planeswalkers, enchantments, artifacts, all that good stuff, things that you can't get rid of with your other removal, of which there's going to be a lot. So let's go ahead and get to that creature and burn spells, general removal. So first up, we've got 4 copies of Fiery Temper. So Fiery Temper is probably one of the best burn spells in the format right now. Lets you do 3 damage to a creature or a player. To go along with that, I also have got 4 copies of Lightning Axe, just since Lightning Axe, A, is a really good removal spell, and B, combos really nicely with Fiery Temper. Also, because you're going to be drawing a lot of cards with Fevered Visions, there's a chance that you might just have to discard the Fiery Temper. So, that's a cool thing that you can do during your cleanup phase. I also added 3 copies of Twin Bolt, kind of just add a little bit more burn, add a little bit more removal. And then finally, with the last 10 spots in the deck, I added a little bit more utility. So I went ahead and put in the 4 copies of Dimensional Infiltrator so that you can flash those in at the end of your opponent's turn, get a little bit of pressure in the air. Did the same thing with Rattle Chains. Again, those don't really have any synergies with anything else in the deck. They're just kind of there to just get in for the damage to kind of grind out your opponents. And then I also went ahead and added 2 copies of Tormenting Voice to kind of smooth out your draws. Other than that, our land base is pretty straightforward. We got 24 lands, 20 basics, and 4 of the comes into play tap lands. So there you go. That's the deck list for our very first Standard Budget Spotlight. So we're going to be playing with it at our standard events, which is going to be every Sunday at 4 o'clock and every Tuesday at 1 o'clock. So go on ahead and you can stop in and see how the deck plays out. Until then, we'll catch up with you guys later. Have a great day. This is Jay signing off.